Welcome to another episode of Not That Hard to Homeschool, the podcast for real people so that you can confidently, competently, and yes, even contentedly provide the high school education that is best for your teens and your family. I'm your host, Lisa Neary from NotThatHardToHomeschool.com. Hey everybody, it's Lisa from It's Not That Hard to Homeschool. It is not that hard to homeschool, and we love bringing you exciting resources to make homeschooling easier. And that is why I am interviewing Joshua Davidson today from the Night Zookeeper. Joshua, welcome to our podcast. So glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and so you're like on the other side of the world, right? Where are you coming from?
So we're based in London in England,
Okay.
and I'm currently talking to you in my home, which is a bit outside London in Cambridgeshire.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'm in New Mexico, which isn't where I live. So isn't technology amazing? Um, yeah.
Fantastic how we
It,
can do this.
and that actually leads me to the Night Zookeeper because it is a really engaging, exciting way to teach and solidify reading and writing skills for your kids. But before we even jump into the Night Zookeeper, I have got to ask you, how did you come up with that name for a language arts program for kids?
Yeah, it's so wow, where to start with this? It started as a story, as you can kind of imagine from the
Yeah.
title. It's a zoo at night. I invented giraffes that could turn invisible, that were called spying giraffes, an elephant that could travel in time. And I wasn't 6 years old at the time. I was 22, and I was doing a master's in digital art. And I used this story world that I was creating as the basis for one of my projects, which was the nighttime zookeeper at the time. And I asked all of my friends and family to invent strange animals that could live in this website that I was building. So, this is back in the day before the Facebooks of the world sort of rose up and we all lived online. It was a novel idea that used wiki technology, so the basis of Wikipedia, but the idea that we could all co-create a story. And
Yeah.
so it was kind of an arty master's project that used my story world as the basis for collaborative storytelling.
I love
Um,
it. I love it.
and yeah, there you go. So my good friend Paul was a primary school teacher. I told him I was doing this. He invited me into his school, and we turned it into what it is now. Although obviously not that quickly.
Yeah. Well, it is such an engaging, fun game. I mean, we are all about gamification over at True North Academy, and I love the concept of gamification because I think it really builds in motivation. And so you're
Right.
not like, you're not trying to like, okay, kid, come on, do your stuff. The kids are like, hey, could you get out of the way so I could go learn how to read?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think the great thing about the language art space is that if it's done right, it was always a game. It's always
Yeah.
been the most fun you can have,
Yes.
using your imagination and creating. Like it's not, you don't need the tricks to get you down the gym and start, oh, I've got one, two, three, four. Like
Yeah.
those counters that we're so used to for products that are being gamified. The truth is that this is play, and the
Yes.
best forms of learning are play. And
Exactly.
so, yeah, the idea started as it started as a game. It just
Yeah.
so happens that it's inherently educational to
Yeah.
play with your imagination and to create. And we just wanted to give kids the tools to create until their hearts were content. Like just let them go wild on
I
Night
love it.
Zookeeper and invent everything they could possibly imagine.
I love it. I love it because I think creativity is a skill you can build. So it's not like your
Oh,
kids are going to
absolutely.
run out of creativity and go, "Well, I'm done now." It's just going to
Right.
build and build. So this is
And
a
the school
game.
system, unfortunately, the school systems kind of educate kids out of creativity, right? Like that was what Sir Ken Robinson
Absolutely.
always talked about. Like we were in a world, and it's getting better. I think people are more attuned to the importance of creativity now. But
Yes.
we had set up our education systems to test, to fact learn,
Hmm.
to homogenize humans
Yeah.
through a very solid curriculum delivered in a
Yes.
very standard way, and
Yes.
and that stifles creativity, and that's the education systems that we had.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so we weren't just failing to nurture it,
Right.
we were actively removing it from
Yes.
human beings that went
I,
through these systems. And it's such a shame, anyway. So that was the sort of the backdrop that led
yeah.
to during my master's, like the sort of the academic side of the things that I was studying that
Yeah.
led to the thought that this would be an important platform.
Yeah, I love it. You are singing my song about traditional education. Sadly, we're removing the exciting process of learning and engaging from teaching our kids.
Right. Right.
But this, I love what you said earlier. This is co-creating. So the kids get into this game and they're really co-creating. They're really in charge of their own learning. It's really a brilliant concept. Can you tell us a little bit about how Night Zookeeper works?
Yeah, no, sure, sure. So where to start? It starts with the idea of character creation. It's such a standard thing that
Yeah,
adults do with kids to draw stuff out of them. So
yeah,
they're going to draw a picture, they're going to name this creature, whether it's a leaf that's also a ninja or a hedgehog that's also a banana, whatever their brain wants to concoct. I mean, as I said, I started with a giraffe spy and a time traveling elephant. And now I feel like the least creative human being on the planet because the kids will come up and they'll be like, so it's a unicorn crossed with a rainbow and it's best friends with a crisp packet called Bill. And I'm like,
yeah.
oh, okay, wow. Yeah, I
Wow.
really was miles away from where so that's wonderful. And that has been the journey of setting up Night Zookeeper. And it really is at the core sort of essence. And, you know, um, it's the magical moment fundamentally that we give parents and their kids, that they sit down, and if you have a child that has any hesitancy about writing, whether they think, oh, I don't like writing, or oh, I'm rubbish at it, or whatever it is that's creating this barrier, one magical moment where they suddenly are the creators of Bill the Unicorn Rainbow, like then they are so invested now in telling you everything. And of
Yeah,
course, that is a huge part of literacy as well. The
yeah,
oral side, like we don't get a record of that, but I promise you from our watching it and just knowing my own kids and kids that we see in schools, so much of the fantastic learning happens off the site. Like it's the
yeah,
fact that they're creating this on the site, but then they're going to come to dinner and
yeah,
rather than just mute, they're going to tell you, oh my goodness, and then did you know that my character just went to the moon and they met
yeah,
Circles the Owl in Igloo City? And, instead, we take them
yeah,
having had that inception of their idea. And by the way, they can do that over and over again
yeah,
within the platform as they get more and more ideas because kids' minds, as I was saying,
yeah,
they go deep into this once they
they do.
start realizing
Mhm.
they're allowed to express themselves
Yeah,
and that this is something that is a
yeah,
superpower that they knew
yeah,
that they had, but they were never really celebrated for.
yeah,
And then they just go for it. And so they create these more characters. They start writing stories about those characters. They share those stories with a
yeah,
community of kids. Um, and we have tutors that sort of provide reinforcement and feedback and scaffold their writing so that they're starting to get outside feedback on what they're doing.
yeah.
And then there's a whole curriculum which is making them which is a bit more of your kind of classic
Hmm.
spag style. Like, they're going to learn spelling, they're going to learn to improve their vocabulary, their grammar.
Yeah,
But this is all gamified in the more classic gamified sense.
yeah,
But the truth is that they're going to want to do this because they want to get back to writing the
yeah,
stories and
yes,
using their imaginations. And they're realizing, this is what's amazing. Like you see kids who have been using this for 3 or 4 years,
yeah,
and they're just doing it to share their ideas and write
yeah.
their stories and get that feedback from the community. And that's the game.
I
The other
love it.
thing that we did, all that other stuff that we did, that's not the game. The game is I've learned loads of new words. I've invented loads of cool characters. I'm really good at spelling, and I'm getting comments from these kids from all over the world, whether it's New Mexico or Suffolk, England, and
Yes,
I'm able to
yeah,
feel that my ideas are valuable, and
yeah,
that's what we wanted to create
yeah.
with Night Zookeeper, and it's happened. And
I'm just so blown away by the program. You have touched on so many things in this few short couple minutes. Literacy rates are just falling. I mean, you're in England, but we're in America, and the literacy rates are just
same everywhere.
appalling. It's so sad because um, it's such a fundamental skill to really be a free person. Honestly, if you're
It is.
literate, you have the world at your fingertips in the universe.
Mm.
So this is making literacy so accessible to kids. I love that so much. Um, the other thing I love about the program is that there's an immediate feedback loop.
Right.
I was just typing this morning on it and just playing around with it, and it's like immediately you said, you need a period at the end of this sentence. Okay.
Right.
Immediate feedback loop is so important to learning. Without that immediate feedback loop, you just don't know
Yeah.
what you've done
Yeah.
wrong or right. And so,
Yeah, and by the way, that's delivered by a penguin. So
yeah,
some of the heat from the you forgot the
yeah,
punctuation mark here.
yeah.
It's sort of softened by the fact that it's a
Oh,
know-it-all penguin professor. So you're like, okay,
yeah,
well, fine. Of course, that's the
yeah,
professor's going to tell me to do
yeah,
that. So I will.
exactly. Right.
It just softens that feedback
It
loop.
does. It's so fun. And you just go back and you put in a period or a capitalization. I mean, these two things are something that my kids are super literate. They love to read. They read voraciously, but capitalization, I mean, and they're all adults now, still
Right.
capitalization and
Oh, it's a
yeah,
shame. I was about to say they should read the books because
yeah, yeah. Well, they have kids now, so I might have to get the
okay,
books
well,
for them
get
because they're
the books. Yeah.
delightful too.
Oh, thank you.
But there's this built-in narration component too. So they play the game and then they're so
Right.
excited about it, they want to
Yeah.
come and narrate it back. So they're getting that whirl as well as
That's
the
right.
reading. It's just again, it's just a fantastic concept. I love it. I love it so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. This does use technology. So I own it's not that hard to homeschool and True North Academy, which is an online 6th through 12th grade academy. We use tech too. So not
Right.
opposed to tech in any way. I do think parents need to be really aware of where their kids are at online. So
Exactly.
how do you have built-in parental controls or safety kind of things for the kids so that not everybody and the uncle can be on the platform? How does
We
that
do, we
work?
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's, first of all to say is that we employ real people. So we have real teachers, real tutors that
Yeah.
read everything that kids write, give them feedback, and also they won't put anything onto the website unless it's been reviewed. So it's not, obviously we have the technology filters as well that a lot of
Yep.
people have, but it's a human as well that's taking
I love that.
accountability and
Mhm.
looking at the system.
Yeah.
Then, of course, you have all the standard parent controls because you've got to, make a decision on what sort of features you want your kid to be
Mhm.
using.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's decided by us in the platform. For example, we have a projects feature, which
Mhm.
is where kids can say, "Hey, I want to write about whatever their favorite show or book series is or whatever thing that they're interested in, and then they can request to create a project on that, and other kids can get involved. But we don't even make that available to the younger children on the platform. That's only the
Mhm.
older kids that have that available. But every feature is parent controlled, so if you don't want your kid to even see other children's work, then you can play Night Zookeeper in very much in a bubble and just use that magic moment of that experience. Personally, because we've taken all of these steps to make it as
Yeah.
safe as you can make it to be involved, I think some of the magic that we're throwing at parents here is giving the kids this community, this
Yes.
very safe, moderated community, so that the kids don't just think this feedback comes from mum and dad
Right.
and
Yeah.
this is you are good and you're being validated by other
Yeah.
people, peers around the world, and
Yeah.
another teacher, tutor, sort of,
Yeah.
that's reading your stuff. And it's, we've had this um, opportunity with technology to connect around the world and to see that there's someone in England and there's someone in Australia and there's someone in Canada and America, and they're all part of the same creative journey.
Yeah.
And I think that is part of the magic. And yeah, so we
Yeah.
just endeavor to make that as safe and
Absolutely.
interesting as
I
possible.
love that so much. That's one of the powerful things about tech is that we can
Right.
collaborate around the world. And I think when we touch people from around the world, we realize that humanity, we all fundamentally want the same things.
Exactly.
We all want that the good thing. We all want to know that we're valid
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we want that connection. So I love
Right.
that part of it.
Yeah.
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 That's a
No,
great
that's
feature.
exactly it. And what's lovely, what we see on Night Zookeeper is, obviously we're giving kids a chance to live in a world of their own creations, but you do come from different cultures. So the animals that we see created in the UK, I mentioned hedgehogs earlier. I'm not
Yeah.
sure even people in America really know much about hedgehogs, but
You
we
can
know a lot
follow
about
them.
hedgehogs. Yeah, yeah. So we have hedgehogs and we have badgers and we have, all these kind of very English animals being created, but with
Yeah.
superpowers and other sort of twists here in the
Yeah.
UK. But then if you go to Australia, suddenly you're seeing kangaroos that
Yeah.
are also, circus performers, or you're seeing,
That's
astronaut
so
wallabies.
awesome.
It's that
Yeah.
kind of, it's sort of interesting how
Yeah.
every human on Earth is connected to nature. It is
Yeah.
the representation of our entire imaginations, and
Yeah.
kids have that they have that wide-eyed wonder
Yeah.
about this topic.
Yeah.
And there is the temptation to think that, as they get older, oh, they're not into
Yeah.
animals anymore. They're only into, whatever it is that
Yeah.
they're into. And, these things,
Fill
they
in the
get, there's
blanks.
too many fill in the blanks. I'm not saying,
Yeah.
I'm not even going to mention some of these things,
Yeah.
but that's what they start to get into. But the
Yeah.
truth is that they stay connected to nature. And if you
Yes.
just give them a way to give a twist on it. So if they're into dinosaurs, they're into ninjas, whatever it is,
Yeah.
they can make their old favorite animals. Say they always used to have a love of owls, owl
Yes.
parties and all that stuff. Now they can say, okay, well, I also like ninja. Maybe I can make a ninja owl. And then
Yeah.
they're using this kind of part of themselves that is the most innocent, but also in a way the most true to themselves
Yeah.
as they're going through those important years of self-discovery. So they're no
Hmm.
longer just these, you know, wide-eyed kids who will take everything. They're starting to have those social dynamics. They're starting to feel a peer pressure to conform and be a part of, what is understood to be normal and
Yeah.
like the same things.
Hmm.
With Night Zookeeper, what's wonderful is that
Yeah.
you're seeing people who have interests so diverse around the world,
Yeah.
but you're also then enabled to be your own self and really bring that to bear on the work that you do.
And it grows with the kids. Um, I,
Exactly.
I love that part. The other thing I'm really impressed with is that the graphics are absolutely stunning. They really are. They're very engaging. They're visually appealing, but there's not a lot of flashing. It engages without overwhelming, and I think that's a really rare combination. And I think you guys really nailed it. So,
Oh,
um,
thank you so much.
yeah, I mean, it's just a really beautifully done program.
Thank you. Yeah, so
Uh,
we worked with a an animation company, an Emmy and BAFTA winning animation studio to bring the characters and the world to life. So you have that um, you know, I always had this dream basically that we would be creating an educational thing with the same love and care that entertainment products are made for kids. There's
yes.
in truth, you walk through a education trade show or anything, and the quality of design and aesthetics, you can see the plummet, and it's such a
Yeah.
shame, that
Yeah.
ultimately the thing that we should be making the most attractive, the thing that we want kids to be most drawn to,
Right.
is getting this underinvestment in love, basically, in design and love. And that is, I come from a visual background, and we've had this animation company, we've got a fantastic creative director, but we want this thing to feel better, on at least
Mhm.
on a par with the entertainment choices that the kids would make, because we know we need to do that to make them
We need to do it.
motivated to be involved.
Yeah. And we know it works. It's effective because you
Right,
can talk to any little kid who can tell you all about a universe, whatever that
right.
is. Star Wars
Yeah.
comes to mind because I have
Yes,
a couple
yes,
boys. They can tell you
yes.
every little detail they
Right.
didn't study it, they didn't have tests
No,
on it. They just loved it. And
they
so,
loved it. They cared.
yeah,
And that storytelling and visuals, and
yes,
why not wrap that level of care and quality around, what we talked about earlier, which is one of the most fundamental skills that a kid can learn, which is their own self-expression.
exactly.
We have an organization here called the National Literacy Trust, and they produced some research that showed, ignoring careers, ignoring everything else, literacy was the number one indicator of future
Wow.
happiness in life. Like, that was their study. And I thought that was so profound and
Yes.
true, that it is, because it makes so much sense that if you do not have good literacy skills, if you do struggle with it, then the world is so less accessible to you.
Yeah, it is.
And the magic of life that we all sort of draw from
Yeah.
comes from meaning and words and the things that we grow attached to. I mean, you mentioned Star Wars, like how many people get so much from that and living
Yeah.
in those worlds, and the fact that they can deep
Mhm.
dive in the Star Wars books alongside the
Yeah.
movies and go into the fan fiction forums or into the
Yeah.
encyclopedic world that has been
Yeah.
created in that universe. Like, that is a human falling in love with their ability to engage with
Yeah.
words, and so yeah, it makes total sense to me.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, that's a crazy stat. I didn't know that, but thanks for sharing that. Um, okay, so let's just get really practical. How do you see homeschool families incorporating the night zookeeper into their kids' daily routine? I know you're in schools too, and I love that because it's such an engaging format. But how do you, for homeschool parents who are trying to figure it all out, maybe juggle a couple kids at a time, how do you see Night Zookeeper fitting into their routine?
Yes, I mean it's wonderfully kid focused in its, the user experience. Like you can just put a kid on this and they will drive it. Like they
Yeah,
know what they're doing. It's and to them it's a game. So
yeah,
that's wonderful. But obviously you're a homeschool educator. You've got certain things you need to get in their heads, or at least begin to introduce them to that start to get them through it. So we have a full language arts curriculum on Nightscaper. You can have this as your go-to way to take a kid all the way through from 5 years old to 11 years old, and they will cover the essential skills that they need in their
yeah,
literacy. That said, I am a big fan in all forms of education of diversity, and I think having offline time, having books that you sit and read with your kid, working on our downloadable worksheets, many of which we give for free to subscribers, like that, you know, is an important mix. You don't want to just put your kid on this every day and say you will, for a few 3 hours and say now you will learn. I have a feeling that your kids may want to stay on Night Zookeeper for 3 or 4 hours a day because we do have that. But I would structure it as this is a reward, and that's just further buying into what we're providing, which is this. Here's a game that your kids are going to love playing, but is actually doing them good. And like we said right at the beginning, literacy is the most fun that they can have.
yeah,
So yeah, I would imagine that this is a fantastic thing, an hour a day of your literacy, but you can do some other literacy and
yeah,
say this is an hour a day of fun, and you can
yeah,
use your Night Zookeeper, and that works wonders.
yeah. And so it's for 6 to 12-year-olds. Do you find the
That's right.
6-year-olds, are they able to manage the typing and everything on their own, or will it take some parental help there?
So we minimize typing. I think you type the name of the animal.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
there's a few moments where you may be pulled over,
Yeah.
but the rest of the program is pretty self-drive.
Okay.
So for example, when you're telling us about your animal, we have a series of symbols that you can
Yes.
click on when you're
Yeah.
under 6 years old. So you're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, how do they what's their favorite food? And you can click on the picture and then it will read out the sentence. So you'll get
Yes.
the full sentence. Their favorite food is ice cream, but the
Yes.
child is just having to select from a picture and then they're hearing
Love
it. So
that.
we're
Yeah.
providing that scaffolding into it. And of course, if you're over the age where you are expected to be writing, we may even give you the beginning of the sentence. So we might
Hmm.
say, my animal's favorite food is, and then let you type that ice cream. And then when you get to the full sort
Yeah.
of 9+, where you'd expect them to be able to produce lots of nice big writing, you just have what's your animal's favorite food, write your
Yeah.
answer, what do they dislike, and the journey that you go on as you give us more information is that much richer. And that's the same whether they're doing the character creation, whether they're learning about report writing,
Mhm.
poetry,
Yeah.
um, persuasive writing, every sort of style and form of writing we have
Mhm.
guides for, and that could be in video form or through this kind of
Mhm.
chat scaffolding that we do. But it's a great way in. It's a great
Yeah.
way to sort of mature with the platform and realize that you're getting better at writing.
I love that. You mentioned scaffolding, which maybe homeschoolers aren't familiar with that term, but it's
Sure.
such an important educational concept because it means you're not waterboarding kids with skills. You're teaching them the basics and then the next step and the next step. So it's very sequential and logical skill building. And
Right.
literacy really is a skill building endeavor. So you can't get to report writing if you don't know how to write a complete sentence or paragraph.
Right.
And
Right.
you've got that all built in for the parents. So there's no
Yep.
guesswork on the parent part. They can just
No.
go to that part of the program and they've got it done for them.
And you don't even have to do that because the animals themselves, the things that they create, they're going to ask the kid to go and do that. So you're
Fun. I
you're
didn't
going
get
to
to
be
that part
looking
yet.
you're going to look after your zoo and all of your different animals that you're creating, and they're going to say, hey, I really want to learn about how to use rhyming couplets in poems. Can you go
Oh
and
my
take this lesson?
gosh.
And then
You're
you go
s-
off and do
I,
that,
you're singing my
and your
song
animal gets
here. I
happy.
love it.
Yeah.
I think everybody
Yeah.
needs to learn a little poetry too, because it just
Oh,
teaches
thousand
the
percent.
rhyme and meter of language and speech and how fun
Absolutely.
it is. Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
Um, So, what have you learned from the kids who have done this program? I mean, you're talking about creativity and collaboration and communication
No,
skills and critical
no,
thinking, the four
yes,
C's of education. Everybody should be really concerned about these things because uh, jobs are going to change really radically in the next couple of years. And if our kids
yeah,
have these foundational skills, they're going to be okay. And
right.
you've got that all built into this. So I know you've worked with thousands of kids at this point. Is there anything that stands out that you've learned from the kids?
I learn every day. So I'm obviously I mentioned that they humiliate me from a creative perspective and the imaginations that they show. But I mean, the truth is that you have an army here of creative writers. And,
Yeah,
I may not be getting that from the 5, 6 year olds, but by the time that I see writing by 9, 10, 11, I'm seeing wonderful prose. Like literally, these kids are evoking worlds. They
yeah,
are every bit the writers that you would expect to read in published fiction. Like there is some incredible, and I
wow,
think that is that is such an eye opener for me that you can get kids there. And obviously we
yeah,
have a wide net now. We have the
yeah,
internet. So and parents who I mentioned at the beginning, like if you have a parent that dislikes writing, then Night Zookeeper is great. If you have a kid that loves writing, Night Zookeeper is amazing
I
because
love
you've
it.
just given them
Love
access to
it.
this platform where they can share their stories. So we have
Yeah,
incredible artists, we have incredible writers, all burning with ideas and enthusiasm that they've discovered a community that shares their
yeah,
interest and their love in writing and in world building. And yeah, so I'm learning on a daily basis from the work that we see come through.
I love it. I want to go back. You had mentioned you have actual teachers, actual tutors right there on the program. So this is such a great collaboration between tech and people. I think that's the best possible learning we can do at this point in such a high tech world. But to have that human element too is just brilliant. So the fact that the kids are actually interacting with people is such a great, not just peers, but also teachers and people who can guide them. Such a great model. Um, what plans do you have for future updates or new features for the program?
So there's lots going on. There's always lots going on. I have too many ideas, if I'm honest, and so I have to be controlled as to what we can do. We've just launched Night Zookeeper quests, which I'm
Oh,
very excited about.
okay.
So Night Zookeeper is very freeform. It's like I mentioned, the animals will sort of send you off, but there's
Uh,
also a menu of all the different things you could want to do. Quests is our sequential curriculum.
okay.
So kids will journey through the night zoo. They will rescue characters. There's a whole bunch of new games in there, Spelling Jungle and Starlight Surf and all these kind of fun things that we've created, which
I love
again are
it.
sort of focusing on core skills, but it's
Yes.
all part of this journey, this quest through the night zoo. And again, it just sort of takes the the fact that you know that your kid is going to be going from point A to point B in their learning.
Yeah.
I'm still a massive fan of sandbox learning, but if you have a child that you think would take advantage of that a bit too much, or you don't want to have to sort of manage, like look at the dashboard and see, okay, well, they're covering the right amount of things, then the quest is going to be a fantastic way to just sort of say, okay, well now I can put them onto the quest and I know that they're working through the entire curriculum in a really
Yeah.
structured way.
Fun. Wow, that sounds really fun. I think that's going to really pique a lot of people's interest. Who doesn't love a good quest?
Well, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Especially when you're traveling alongside a banana zebra that loves
Yeah.
to climb trees.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Um, so I want to just be clear for our listeners. This really is a comprehensive curriculum. It's a comprehensive ELA curriculum. So if you're looking for reading, writing, spelling, grammar, vocabulary, helping kids learn communication skills, not to mention collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking, this is a great program for your kids. And they're going to receive personalized tutor feedback. The other thing I think is brilliant, great job. This is cross platform access. So you can access it across devices, computers, tablets. It's now available on iPhone and Android is coming soon, correct?
Yes, yes, exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you can learn anytime, anywhere. And I mean, I love the fact that it's such a safe and supportive environment. There's been some great online opportunities for kids that I don't endorse anymore because they've been breached, or, there's just not the care and concern there for our
Right.
kids' safety. And that to me is so paramount. But it
It's
sounds like
everything.
you've
It
done,
has to be. It has to be
yeah,
everything. Yeah,
it has
it
to be
really does.
everything.
There's no point in any of this stuff if you're not taking it seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you're coming from such a solid academic pedagogy. I love it so much. And yet you've made it so super fun and engaging. Anything else you want to tell our listeners about Night Zookeeper besides just go get it? We're going to offer a free 7-day trial and a discount.
Brilliant.
But what else do you want to share with our listeners?
It would be a request. If you're going to do it, please do the first animal with your kid. And I
Okay.
just think it will, though it will work, you can put your kid on it and say, make an animal. If you go through that process with your child and ask them a few extra questions and just build that
Yeah.
confidence and that creativity together, I
Yeah.
honestly think that you will have a great time and the kid will have a great time, and that the immersion into the world that we have created will happen all the smoother. So yeah, that would be it's a request, as I say,
I love
not
it.
essential.
I
Oh,
love
yeah,
it.
and since I'm the author of the books, if you want to get the books, the books do not need to go alongside the
Yeah.
website. Maybe do the trial first and make sure you like it. But if you like the trial and you like the website and you think you're getting something from it, then I'm such a huge advocate for reading. And I think that what we've done with this series, we worked with Oxford University Press to make them very accessible for
Yeah.
sort of 7-year-old readers to be that kind of the
Mhm.
first independent read. So again, it does in all things, it's great if the parents involved, but if that's the book that you read together, maybe a couple of lines at a time, chapter each, or however you're confident your young reader is, then that is a great magical way of we talked about Star Wars. If you
Yeah.
love both things, if you love something, then
Yeah.
you can make your kid love this. And if
Yeah.
they love it, they're gonna work so hard and
Yeah. Yeah.
you're gonna see such a transformation in their attainment levels, but also in their enjoyment, which is the most important thing of literacy.
And the stats are in. If somebody is having fun and playing while they're learning, they're going to learn so much faster. I mean, I think it's like 350 times faster. It's crazy how much you just build on
Right.
that play. So this
Yeah.
is Joshua, I love this program. I think it's really brilliant.
Thank you.
Again, you are pairing real solid academic skills with just a whole lot of fun in a safe, collaborative environment that teaches way more than just basic reading and writing. So great job. I'm so
Thank
excited
you.
to share this with our listeners, and we'll put the codes and everything in the show notes, and you can go find it on the blog and all the things. So Joshua, I just applaud the great job that you've done with Night Zookeeper. It's an amazing name too. I've heard about it for a couple of years, so I'm so excited to have the opportunity to dive into it more, and I could not be more impressed.
Oh, well, thank
So
you so much.
thanks
Thank
for
you so,
bringing
so
this
much.
fantastic product to the world of education and to homeschoolers too.
Oh, well, thank you so, so much. That's very, very kind. And yeah, no, we love working with parents that so clearly care so much about their child's education. And, we just want to be your partner in making sure that, kids love learning for their entire lives. And yeah, look to us. And if you have ideas, you have feedback about the product, if you do take up the 7-day trial and you want to get in touch, then, we're a really receptive bunch. We love feedback and we
I
want to
love
make
it.
it as fun as we can.
I love it. Well, Joshua, thanks for being on It's Not That Hard to Homeschool podcast. You guys, homeschooling is not that hard. We know you can do it. Thanks for listening. This is Lisa. We'll talk to you soon.